If you think all good movies should have sequels, maybe you will think again after watching this movie. Yes, because there are movies that should have a sequel, there are also movies that don't seem to need a sequel. This statement is very appropriate for the latest sequel to the movie The Exorcist, which was first released in 1973, which in my opinion is still the best horror movie, but if you watch the newest sequel in 2023, it won't feel like watching The Exorcist. Even though you can enjoy it, you still feel uneasy when watching this movie. However, that doesn't mean this movie is bad. It is still very worth watching because it is still in the scary category, but not in the context of causing panic, because it only causes a subtle jump scare. Even so, the rest of this movie is still comfortable to watch. Tells the story of two teenage girls named Angela and Catherine, who disappeared after entering the forest to perform a ritual, summons a spirit, which then causes both of them to become possessed. Both of them experienced possession from the same demon that once possessed Regan McNeil in the first movie, The Exorcist, which was released in 1973. Meanwhile, Angela's father, Victor, who is an atheist, tries to seek help from the church to save his daughter. On the other hand, Catherine's family themselves are devout Catholics. They are also looking for their own way to overcome the possession their daughter is experiencing. Indeed, when watching this movie, I could still enjoy the storyline, even though there was a feeling of irritation throughout the duration, and ultimately it makes me think that this movie shouldn't exist. And in my opinion, if the production house intends to make a similar movie, it should be made with a new title and new characters. Because there are several things that are not connected well, important things are not explained. Namely specific clarity regarding the characters and storyline. From the emergence of new characters who are actually not important, the storyline is less connected. Even very important things are simply ignored. Namely, it is not clear specifically how the devil could enter the bodies of the two girls, and how could this demon be the same as the demon that entered Regan McNeil? Then Victor's background as an atheist is also not explained, and what makes me wonder even more is what is the meaning of the scene where Victor sees hallucinations of his dead wife, which seem to provide instructions, but apparently I felt like I didn't get an explanation until the end of the duration. And what makes me curious is how this movie could lose focus on the main character, namely Victor, which actually gives more attention to the less important supporting characters. Not to mention the final scene, which uses excessive CGI effects and looks less realistic. The possession scene is the same as most possession scenes in other similar horror movies, but once again, this movie is still worth watching, especially for those of you who like horror movies. At least this film manages to capture the tense and scary atmosphere like the original movie, especially in the first half. Even so, it must be acknowledged, if Leslie Odom Jr., who plays Victor, is one of the strongest characters in this film, then he is the most successful. Leslie Jr. succeeded in bringing the audience into the emotions and despair of someone who lost his wife and daughter. Apart from that, Lydia and Olivia also successfully played characters that were no less strong. They succeeded in convincing the audience by portraying two girls who were possessed by demons. And we also can't ignore the moment when Ellen Burstyn gave a touch of nostalgia by returning to her role as Chris McNeil. Yes, even though his role doesn't have a large portion in this movie, the irreplaceable quality of his acting as Chris McNeil succeeded in making the audience remember his version of the movie Exorcist. Although in the end the audience has to accept the fact that this movie is not strong enough to match the quality of the original movie. If you are a fan of horror films, maybe you can still enjoy this film even if it is just for entertainment, but if you're expecting more than a repeat of demonic possession, you're bound to be disappointed. For production houses who still have plans to produce the next sequel, just one message from me. I hope you have enough time to think about it for a moment, then cancel that intention. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.
Of human salvation.